Jacob wandered through the crowded flea market on a chilly autumn morning, the scent of old wood and forgotten stories hanging thick in the air. His eyes caught a glint beneath a pile of dusty antiques, an ornate mirror framed in dark, twisted wood carved with intricate patterns. Despite its worn edges, the glass shimmered like a portal to another time. Without hesitation, Jacob bought it, imagining it would add a vintage charm to his apartment. At first, the mirror was nothing more than decoration. He hung it in his bedroom, admiring the craftsmanship. But soon, subtle things began to shift. Jacob noticed flickers in the reflection, shadows moving where no one stood. One evening, as the sunset bled crimson through the window, he caught a glimpse of a face behind him. It wasn't his own. Pale, hollow eyes stared back, twisted in silent agony. Each night, the mirror seemed to grow darker, swallowing the room's light. Faint whispers echoed, unintelligible but chilling, as if the mirror breathed secrets from beyond. Jacob's reflection warped, his features blurred and twisted, replaced by sinister smiles and angry glares. Desperate, he wiped the glass, but the terrifying images remained, seeping into his mind. His friends noticed the change. Once lively and hopeful, Jacob now spoke in hushed tones, glancing nervously at the mirror. Sleep eluded him, nightmares of cold hands reaching through the glass left him drenched in sweat. The shadows seemed to slither just beyond the edges of his vision, waiting. One stormy night, the mirror cracked, spreading dark veins like spiderwebs. Jacob reached out, compelled and terrified. As his fingers brushed the shattered glass, icy fingers gripped his wrist from inside the mirror. His scream was swallowed by silence. The next morning, the mirror stood empty, no reflection at all. Jacob had vanished. His apartment remained frozen in time, the cursed mirror the only witness to the horror it had unleashed. Emma never expected to inherit anything unusual from her late grandmother, but when the old wooden box arrived in the mail, curiosity tugged at her heart. The delicate music box was exquisitely carved, with tiny painted flowers curling along its surface. Emma lifted the lid, and a soft, sweet melody filled the room, a lullaby that seemed to carry the warmth of her grandmother's love. At first, the music soothed her restless mind. But as days passed, the melody began to change. The notes grew slower, distorted, and darker, like a song played underwater. Each time Emma wound the key, the tune twisted into something haunting and unfamiliar. Shadows deepened in the corners of her room, and a chill crept beneath the blankets at night. One evening, as the music box played its eerie song, Emma caught a glimpse of movement behind her. The reflection in the mirror showed a figure standing just out of sight, tall, cloaked in darkness, with eyes that glowed faintly red. She turned, but no one was there. Her breath quickened. Sleep became impossible. Emma's dreams were invaded by the music box's twisted melody, and with it, visions of a shadowy entity creeping closer with each passing night. Walls seemed to pulse and breathe, twisting her reality until the line between waking and dreaming blurred. Faces of unknown torment appeared in reflections, whispering secrets that clawed at her sanity. Friends noticed her withdrawing into herself, her eyes haunted and hollow. The music box's song seemed to echo endlessly in her mind, a never-ending nightmare she couldn't escape. Desperate, Emma tried to lock the box away, but somehow, it always reappeared on her bedside table, winding itself and playing its cursed tune. One stormy night, the music box played louder and faster, and the dark figure stepped out from the shadows, reaching, grasping, pulling Emma into the depths of the nightmare it had created. Her screams were drowned by the twisted lullaby. The next morning, Emma's room was silent, empty except for the music box, still softly playing a broken, chilling tune. Emma was gone, swallowed by the curse of the haunted music box. Maya was a passionate collector of vintage jewelry, always searching for rare treasures that whispered stories from the past. One rainy afternoon, she stumbled upon an abandoned house on the outskirts of town. The old place was crumbling, shadows filling its corners, but something pulled her inside. Amid the dust and decay, Maya's eyes locked onto a small, tarnished box buried beneath broken floorboards. Inside lay a delicate necklace, its pendant a dark, swirling stone set in twisted silver. Without hesitation, Maya clasped the necklace around her neck. It felt cold at first, but soon warmed, as if alive. She admired its eerie beauty, unaware of the dark power it held. That night, as moonlight spilled through her window, Maya's dreams twisted into shadows and whispers, the necklace tightening its grip on her mind. Days passed, and subtle changes crept over her. Thoughts that weren't hers flickered in her mind, urges to lie, to steal, to hurt. The necklace seemed to pulse, syncing with her heartbeat, a sinister presence feeding on her will. At first, Maya resisted, but the whispers grew louder, drowning her voice with commands she couldn't ignore. She found herself waking in strange places, confused and terrified by her own actions. Friends noticed the shift, the cold glint in her eyes, the sudden cruelty behind her smile. Desperation clawed at her as she tried to remove the necklace, but it wouldn't come off. It was fused to her skin, binding her like a chain. One evening, the darkness inside her erupted. Maya was consumed by violent impulses, her hands shaking as the cursed necklace glowed ominously. The house around her seemed to warp and twist, shadows dancing like malevolent spirits. She was no longer in control, the necklace controlled her every move, dragging her deeper into a waking nightmare. In a moment of rare clarity, Maya tried to scream, but the sound was swallowed by the darkness. The cursed necklace tightened its grip, stealing what was left of her humanity. Weeks later, Maya vanished without a trace. The only clue left behind was the abandoned necklace, resting cold and lifeless on the floor, waiting for its next victim. The Johnson family had never been superstitious, but when they found the porcelain doll at a local estate sale, it seemed like a perfect gift for their daughter, Lily. The doll's delicate face was painted with rosy cheeks and glassy blue eyes, dressed in an old-fashioned lace dress that fluttered as if caught in an invisible breeze. Lily adored it instantly, naming her Annabelle and placing her carefully on the bedroom shelf. At first, the doll seemed harmless, just a beautiful keepsake. But soon, strange things began to happen. Lily would wake up to find Annabelle in different positions, sometimes sitting upright on the edge of the bed, other times lying face down on the floor. The family chalked it up to Lily playing with her doll in the night. One evening, as darkness wrapped the house in shadows, Mr. Johnson noticed the doll's eyes seemed to follow him across the room. The air grew heavy, thick with an unshakable unease. Whispering voices echoed faintly through the hallway, words too soft to understand but chilling to the bone. The family tried to ignore the growing dread, but Annabelle's behavior worsened. Doors creaked open by themselves, lights flickered, and cold spots appeared in every room. Lily began talking to someone invisible, telling her parents about secrets Annabelle had told her, secrets no child should know. Fear gripped the Johnsons as their lives unraveled. Nightmares plagued their sleep, and trust within the family eroded. Mrs. Johnson found scratches on her arms she couldn't explain. Mr. Johnson's once calm demeanor cracked, replaced by paranoia and anger. The doll's sinister influence spread like poison, twisting their reality. One terrifying night, the family awoke to the sound of soft giggles echoing through the house. Annabelle sat in the center of the living room floor, surrounded by shattered glass and overturned furniture, her glassy eyes gleaming with dark intent. The next morning, neighbors found the Johnson house empty, no sign of the family, only the doll, sitting silently on the dusty floor, as if waiting for its next victims. Ethan was always drawn to the mysterious and unexplained. While exploring a dusty, forgotten section of the local library, he found an ancient leather-bound book tucked away on a high shelf. Its cover was cracked and worn, adorned with strange symbols etched deep into the hide. The title, barely visible, read Book of Shadows. Intrigued, Ethan took it home, unaware that this discovery would unravel his life. That night, in the flickering candlelight of his study, Ethan opened the book. The pages were filled with cryptic diagrams and arcane rituals written in a language both foreign and familiar. Unable to resist, he began reading aloud, his voice trembling but curious. As the words escaped his lips, the air grew heavy, a cold wind whispered through the room, extinguishing the candle. Strange things began almost immediately. Shadows stretched unnaturally, moving with a will of their own. Doors slammed without cause, and whispers curled around Ethan's thoughts, repeating the ancient chants he had spoken. The world around him seemed to distort, familiar faces twisted into grotesque masks, and laughter turned to screams. Ethan's relationships with loved ones crumbled. Friends and family recoiled, unable to understand the darkness now clinging to him. His home grew colder, the walls seeming to pulse with a sinister heartbeat. Every step he took was followed by unseen eyes, and every breath seemed laced with dread. Desperation drove Ethan back to the book, searching for answers, for a way to end the curse he had unleashed. But the pages shifted and changed, the rituals becoming darker, more demanding. The cursed book thrived on his fear, feeding its power with every word spoken. One stormy night, Ethan read the final incantation aloud. The room erupted in shadow and flame as a dark entity emerged, its form a writhing mass of smoke and eyes. It reached for him with tendrils of shadow, dragging him screaming into the void. The next morning, Ethan's apartment was silent and empty, save for the Book of Shadows resting open on the floor, its pages blank once more, waiting for the next curious soul to read aloud and awaken the darkness again.